Ladies and gentlemen, it's the big one. It's the A350 by Digital Flight Dynamics we're going to be checking out in today's video. The developers for the team have laid out a full update video literally 1 year after their previous update on July 1st of 2022, highlighting massive progress made on the free aircraft coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator. In this video, therefore, we will break down every crucial aspect of the presentation and dive deep into where this aircraft is at, finishing off with some speculations about the release date of the aircraft, further progress that needs to be made, and much more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. What is going on, guys? Varun from Flyby Simulations here, and welcome back to yet another video on the channel. Now, before we get into the various cockpit modeling, externals, and avionics of the A350 that have been talked about in today's video, these videos that I'm making do take a lot of time in putting together as well. I mean, I literally had to wake up at 6:30 in the morning to film all this, so if you enjoy the content, please do consider leaving the video a like, subscribing to the channel, and hit the bell icon to stay up to date with the latest in flight sim news. With that said, let's jump into the updates for the A350 by Digital Flight Dynamics. So, ladies and gentlemen, the presentation opens with Sebastian, who is excited to show us substantial progress that's been made with the A350. Significant progress has apparently been made on the 3D model, the avionics, as well as the cabin of the aircraft, and the team are hoping for this to be a high-fidelity freeware aircraft instead of just a run-of-the-mill aircraft that they produce out of nowhere. Moving into the meat of things here, the first thing we see in this video is the cockpit. Great progress has been made since the previous update we've seen. Significant reworks and additions have also been made to various aspects of the cockpit. All parts necessary for the flight controls, including the tiller and the rudder, look to be complete. New side consoles, including storage areas, microphone, the captain's and first officer's oxygen mask panel, etc., is also all modeled in the 3D modeling software, as can be seen in the background. Even the A350 proprietary OIS system has been modeled, as can be seen. Now, the A350 actually has a highly asymmetric cockpit configuration in its design, but even things like crowbars and fire extinguishing equipment at one side of the aircraft cockpit and extra jump seats and everything on the other side of the aircraft cockpit, including realistic modeling of how it all moves together, looks to be modeled with a fantastic degree of accuracy. Just look at the detail on this. It has its own light switch for a coat hanger section, which I don't even know how they're planning to inculcate that into the whole simulation experience, but it does look absolutely fantastic. Now, here we can see a clear distinction between what the old textures look like for the cockpit and what the new cockpit looks like with the 3D modeling updates applied. So what's left with this cockpit? Well, the roof of the cockpit and the HUD, or the heads-up display, are the only aspects of the cockpit that need significant rework from a 3D modeling standpoint, according to the developers. And once that's done, I'm pretty sure they're going to move on to the texturing phase, where the cockpit actually starts coming to life. Next up then, let's take a look at the cabin that is also going to be coming with the A350. Now, Ben, who is working on this side of the A350, has made detailed visualizations for the aircraft and used these to be able to model the cabin. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, this by far looks like the best cabin I've seen for any aircraft from Microsoft Flight Simulator yet. Currently, the economy class and the business class have been modeled, but the premium economy and first class still need work. For those looking for the cabin experience, as I said before, this one is by far the best I've seen. Probably the best I've seen in any simulator, I'd go as far as to say. One of the main focuses for the team has also been to ensure solid performance regardless of the visual quality we see. So it's really good to look at. The various different displays and IFE or in-flight entertainment units have also been modeled, so really looking forward to see how this is all going to integrate with the actual aircraft when it does release. Next up then, let's take a look at the external of the A350. Just look at some of these renders of the intricate work seen throughout the external of the aircraft. Golly gosh, it looks absolutely amazing. Now, Anil from DFD is yet another 3D modeler on the team, primarily working on the exterior model of the A350, and Anil, if you're listening, you've done a fantastic job with what you've already done. The new model is completely reworked and built on a completely new template. The most recent rework made on the aircraft is the iconic nose structure of the aircraft, which is of course very hard to do due to the lack of resource material available. However, the team is very proud of achieving a 1-to-1 scale replication of the actual A350 thanks to those pilots and mechanics I mentioned towards the beginning of the video. The landing gear shot here also looks absolutely stunning, with a lot of meticulous work done on the various gear pins, the hydraulic actuators, and so on. The smoothness and curve of the nose structure here also goes on to show how great the A350 looks within the 3D modeling software. Obviously, this is still in the software, it's not in Microsoft Flight Simulator yet, but it's good progress nonetheless. We also see several other images, as can be seen in the background as well, all of which are all 1-to-1 replication of the A350 model as mentioned before. The APU exhaust as well as the APU structure have also been modeled effectively, as can be seen in this screenshot over here. Finally, the engine renders. Now these look absolutely fantastic. These are extremely fuel efficient engines with the turbine blades, the cowling, and several other intricate aspects of the contraption modeled very meticulously, as if I really had to say that. Everything in this resource presentation we've seen is a fantastic look at what the aircraft might look like when it finally graces our virtual skies. Throughout this experience, the dev team also goes on to point out that they've learned a lot about the A350-1000 over the last few months and hope to show us more progress updates since then, especially on the external side of things moving forward. Now finally, ladies and gentlemen, this is where it gets really exciting. This is the avionics section of the aircraft, and this is where we see how far the system simulation has come with the A350. Starting things off, we can see the ECAM changes, where Mike from Digital Flight Dynamics has shown us significant updates. The SD, or systems display, includes accurate representations of every major system within the aircraft. So let's take a look at some of these systems and understand how much work has been done on each of them. Starting off with the engine page, then we see values such as the fuel flow, the N2 percentage, the N3 percentage, and various other procedures and variables, especially as we continue viewing the engine start procedure. The attention to detail is very good here. We also see the door page, where we see cabin vertical speed, oxygen status, rain repellent fluid, and more. So obviously goes to show how much detail is being worked on, especially because the A350, let's not forget, is a highly complex aircraft. Moving on then, we see the wheel page, where we see landing gear doors, brake pressure, and various other gauges and variables also seen, where accurate behavior with associated toe brakes and parking brakes are also demonstrated by the dev team to see how the brake actuators work, which still seems to be simulated just fine. The fuel page has also been modeled accurately, though the fuel calculations, according to the developer team, are still a work in progress. In fact, a lot of this is work in progress. Speaking of the fuel again, crucial informations such as crossfeed valves, fuel flow between engines, and so on have been modeled here. Moving on to the electrical system, the dev team said that they've already shown this in a previous update, so they're not planning to show it here again, so go and watch their previous update if you want to know how the electrical system ties into everything here. Next up then, we have the hydraulic page. Now, if you guys don't know, the hydraulics are imperative to be implemented properly for proper flight simulation behavior, especially for third-party add-on aircraft. And again, even here, though work in progress, the engine-driven pumps, the fire shutoff valves, various schematic indications for fuel levels, and so on are accurate. The flight control page here also shows the movement of various flight control surfaces, with trim adjustments and Sidestick adjustments representing changes in the actual page, as again can be seen here in this little demonstration. The More button here also shows more information on hydraulic actuators and additional computers for flight control surfaces. So again, goes to show the high fidelity model these guys are working on. It's not just the surface level pages they're working on the detailed deep end stuff as well. The APU bleed page here shows the bleed air pressure, the APU electrical generators, and so on. There isn't yet an accurately simulated APU within the A350, so not much else to see on this page just yet. Next up, on the bleed air page, we can see information on the packs, which is the pneumatic air control kits that allow air conditioning and smooth flow of air throughout the cabin to actually take place, with various information on pre-coolers, mix air, N1 percentage, and more. Again, I'm not going to say much, you guys can take a look at this for yourself, it looks absolutely fantastic. Finally, here we have the cabin pressure system information page, including crucial information such as the landing altitude, delta P, automatic cabin altitude, and so on, still in need of proper simulated variables, but so far so good. Next up then, let's move into the MFD, or the multi-function display. Now, for the past few months, a new and improved MFD has been worked on, where the team has primarily focused on the FMS, or the flight management system. Now, keep in mind that currently the flight planning capabilities that we're all familiar with the FMS have not yet been simulated. The team have said that they're currently waiting on the FMS V2, currently being worked on by the fly-by-wire team, which will also be used by the DFD A350 as a basis to work on. So that's what's needed to facilitate the flight planning capabilities of the new FMS, and once it's released, the DFD team will implement it into their A350 as well. Coming to the MFD itself, first of all, we can see the captain's MFD and the first officer's MFD are completely independent of each other, which is again indicative of the level of detail we can hope to see with this aircraft. There are no duplicates, everything is separate, everything is individualized. On the captain's side, we can see the initialization page, as you might be familiar with from other Airbus aircraft, though slightly different as a result of the A350's ultra-modern avionics. The IRS position page has also been modeled from scratch, with the live GNSS and INS position monitoring capabilities also built in, with manual selection of GNSS sensors also possible here. Finally, the last thing that was shown to us from an MFD perspective, we have the position/time page, indicating several variables that not only show information, but also allow for customization of various variables, such as the aircraft time reference and selecting between flight time, block time, the date, or the UTC time, as most of these aspects are calculated automatically within the A350, as opposed to using a physical chronometer to time your flight legs and sectors. Of course, I still believe the A350 does have that functionality, but again, like the 787, which happens to be the competitor of the A350 on the Boeing side of things, all of these values are also calculated automatically by the aircraft without much pilot intervention. Finally, the last system that was shown to us by the aircraft development team was the OIS, standing for the Onboard Information System. This is kind of like an EFB, but made proprietarily for the A350. Now, due to different airlines using different configurations of these systems, Digital Flight Dynamics have settled for a more universal design for this page. In this video, the developer Viper shows us the takeoff performance calculation page. Now, the reason for several inoperative fields here is because everything is still a little rough. However, clicking compute does preliminarily allow the user to calculate V-speeds, for example. Now again, still this is super rough, but something that will obviously be improved upon going forward. And ladies and gentlemen, that is pretty much it. The presentation there cuts off quite abruptly, and no release date or anything is mentioned, which is quite obvious, I must say, as a lot of progress still needs to be seen before we're anywhere close to that. I mean, we haven't gotten to any of the texturing work, we haven't even included flight planning capabilities, so even if you get into the cockpit or get into the flight deck of this aircraft, you're not going anywhere. So I'm going to optimistically predict, given everything goes right, given the fly-by-wire FMS V2 gets released soon, given this team expands extremely quickly and just makes insane progress on this aircraft, I'm going to optimistically predict a release date of 2024, late 2024, and realistically predict something in 2025 or maybe even 2026, who knows. And for those thinking this timeline is audacious, well, welcome to the flight simulation hobby, and you try developing an aircraft that has little to no data available for it, and even established payware developers like Aerosoft have expressly rejected. It's hard, so credit where it's due. Speaking of development though, the devs do urge those of you with any skills in modeling, design work, and so on to join their development team and help contribute to this aircraft's hasty arrival to our virtual skies. I shouldn't say hasty, proper, appropriate, timely arrival to our virtual skies. With that said, guys, I truly hope you guys enjoyed this little breakdown. Again, it does take a little bit of effort to put together, so please, if you guys enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and also hitting the notification or bell icon if you want to stay up to date with everything happening in the world of flight simulation. With that said, as always, thanks for watching, and thanks for flying by.